Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Ask Me Anything session with Meg Lewis, designer, comedian, performer, and educator who's on a mission to make the world a happier place. If you're new here and we're just meeting, my name is Katrina Torrijos, and I am part of the Adobe community team, as well as your lovely moderator for this session. Now, because this is an Ask Me Anything, I'll be pulling questions from the LinkedIn chat, so feel free to drop some questions in there. I have a team queuing them up right now, and I'll also pull some questions submitted from our Discord server. So shout out to everyone who submitted their questions early. I have you all lined up. And just a quick note about the Adobe Creative Career Discord server. This is Adobe's community space for students and career seekers who are looking to build and launch their career. Oh God, I got all choked up. So beautiful. So beautiful. Sorry. The career seekers to build and launch their careers. Woo. You can connect with peers from all over the world, seek mentorship from industry pros, and learn more about opportunities and events from Adobe, just like this one. Oh my gosh, I get so choked up talking about the space all the time. I love it so much. And I see so many awesome things happening. So sorry for that. It just got a hold of me for a second. And after this session, we will be hosting a few awesome giveaways, including free 1-year Creative Cloud licenses and some fun gifts from Meg herself. But I'll get into details about how to enter at the end of the session, so stay tuned. All right, so now's the moment you've all been waiting for. Everyone, please give a warm welcome, some sparkle or fire emojis, and hype in chat for Meg Lewis. Woo!
Hi. Didn't see you there.
I know you've been here this whole time.
Hi, thanks for having me. This group is great. I don't blame you for getting choked up because I have been lurking in the Discord server all week, and it has been incredible watching the support of this community. And I was also just peeping on the questions people were asking me for this event, and everyone's the best. I'm so excited to be with this group today.
Yes, same here, Meg. And I'm really excited to have you on as a talk. I've been looking forward to this all week. And I just know that it's just going to be such a fun conversation. And we have a really awesome topic today about how you created a one-of-a-kind career for yourself. And really the beginning of Meg Lewis. So while we're on that topic, so let's just start off with an introduction for those of you out there in the chat who haven't met you yet. So who are you? What do you do? And how did you get your start in your career?
Hello. So I'm a designer by trade. I learned the technical skills of being a digital designer and started my career doing just that. I have been all over the place throughout my career with choosing different specialties and different niches. I started out as a web designer, then I moved into product design, working mostly on UI and UX design. And then I ended up finding myself getting hired out more for brand design. And then of course, I got really interested in brand strategy and went in that direction. And really what I've gotten to do with my career after doing all of those specialized niches and skills as a designer is I realized that I really like doing it all. So now I have this career that's not just design. I've been able to basically take every skill that I have to offer the world, everything that I'm really passionate about and excited about and interested in, and found a way to smush it all together into one career. So if you are familiar with my work at all, it's all over the place. The theme of the work is me and my brain and what my brain can do for the world. I'm really passionate about making people feel better about who they are, what makes them really unique, try to capitalize on that, push those things forward and make the world a better place for those things. And I do that mostly by leading through example. So I really love to celebrate all the things about myself that are different from other people and push them forward as much as I can. It's very scary. It's not something that's easy to do. It's the world's hardest task, and the reason why most humans don't do that. But I like to encourage other people to do the same. So my career is truly a bunch of random things that I love doing, smushed together and trying to figure out how I can make the world a better place while also having a really good time at the same time and hoping to make enough money to survive and ideally thrive.
Oh man, that is amazing. I loved hearing your story and how you got started out. And I have the first question pulled from our Discord server. This question comes from Elizabeth M. Who are your biggest inspirations when it comes to your style, personality, and overall sense of happiness and fun?
It took me a really long time to be okay with the answer here because I think, you know, whenever we ask other people what they're inspired by, I think the initial answer often becomes similar to one another. And for a really long time as a designer, I kind of just started to gather the same sources of inspirations that a lot of my other designer friends were having as their sources of inspiration. So whether it was traveling or looking at Pinterest and seeing what was going on there at the time, or like just popular culture and popular opinion at the time of like what was happening in the trend landscape. And that's kind of what I was getting inspired by. But now what I've tried to do, and this is a lot of what I always recommend when it comes to personal style stuff. We'll talk about this later with mood boards and all of that. But now what I try to do is look back to what I was really inspired by when I was a kid that has stuck with me my whole life. So for me, that's stuff like when I was a kid, the things that inspired me that I was really into that seemed a little unusual. So for me, that was like, I was really into mimes and clowns and circuses. Much like mimes, I really loved silent comedies and different actors and actresses that were like extremely expressive with their face and didn't need to speak in order to show emotion. I was really into that. So bringing that, reminding myself of what those things are that I was really into when I was a kid. I was really into comedy actors and physical comedy, like using your body, which is very much a mime thing as well, using your body and your face in order to communicate emotion. Really into all of that. And so now whenever I'm like not feeling very inspired, I look back to those things that have been with me my whole life and try to pull from that inspiration. And I really love that because it's not design. It's not me looking at other people's work and accidentally getting a little too inspired, because I've been in that place that we've all been at where you look at somebody else's design work and you look at it really long and you're like very into it. It's very inspiring for you because it's so good. And then you accidentally end up making something that looks like a little too similar. And then you say, did I accidentally, oh, it's too close. And so I don't have that problem as much anymore. Now that I'm not looking at design, I'm looking back to what has been influential to me my whole life and stuck with me. And that's really exciting. And I'm very excited about this because it's more likely to remain influential and inspiring to me as I move forward throughout my life because it's been with me this whole time. And a lot of times the things that we were really interested in and inspired by when we were kids that seemed unusual, those are the things about us that are really impactful to just who we are. We were kind of born this way because we were really interested in this niche thing when we were younger. So that is what I'm super inspired by. And I constantly look back to those things and take design and translate those things into visuals and allow those things to come into my design work as much as possible, which is why you see a lot of you can kind of see what's going on in this room and with my outfit. Because I'm so inspired by mimes. When I was a kid, I wanted to be a mime. I did like competitive pantomime, the circuit, it was a whole thing. And so I try to bring the black and white from mimes into my work as often as possible. And anytime you see like a headshot of me or a photo of me, I try to make sure that I'm being really expressionful with my face. I try to put really expressionful faces in the work that I make to put nods to mimes and clowns too. So it's all very intentional and it feels really at the core of who I am at the same time.
I love that. Oh my gosh, I did not know that you did competitive like miming.
Yeah.
How's that? That's awesome. How was the training for that?
It was so at my school it was a club, and it wasn't just mimes. It was like a kind of like a fringe theater club. So Some people were doing monologues, other people were doing drama pantomime. I was in comedy pantomime. Um, and some people were like would do group acting, and then you would go on a competition circuit and compete against other people that did that thing. So I was like just competing with other people that were doing comedy mime.
Mm-hmm.
And it was the best.
That is so cool. Oh my gosh. Um, yeah, you're going to. I love that you mentioned the facial expressions that you make with your work, because you're going to see some slides that have those facial expressions that I made. And I was like, yes, give it to me back. Give me those really big facial expressions. I need those.
You know what? I can do, as much as I love to smile, I can do the best frown you've ever seen. Just wait.
Oh,
I have
okay,
to
okay.
make sure that okay.
Oh my gosh. That is the
The
perfect
full half
frown.
circle.
I love it. Oh my gosh. Okay, so I have another question. This is from Joelle Camacho. Forgive me if I pronounce your name wrong. Feel free to correct me in chat. What was that moment in your life when you thought, this is the start of my career?
Mm. I definitely really I had this vision in my head early on of what I wanted to be doing, and things never really exactly happened that way. They still have not. I often would, when I was in school or just out of school, I would picture other people's careers and think, I want to be like them. I want what they have. That seems really great. And that never exactly happened. That's very unattainable to have exactly what somebody else has. No, none of us can do that because we're all very different. And so what I realized is that I don't know if I'll ever hit that moment where I'm like, this is it. Here I am. I'm peaking. But what I have noticed is that I've had a lot of pinch me moments where I realize, like, I have these moments where I can't believe that I get paid to do this. That this is, when I was a kid, I couldn't have possibly imagined this for myself. This is so much better than anything I could have ever foreseen coming. And because of that, I try really hard to not set very specific goals or milestones for myself in my career, because I have learned that if I just don't, if I don't intentionally plan at all for my future with my career, I find, and I leave all the possibilities open, I find that I end up so much further than I could have ever imagined for myself, but also in a completely different direction, way off in the distance than I could have ever foresaw. So I really like that about my career. And I know the people that don't like the unknown, this will never work for you. But I love the unknown. I love not knowing what's going to happen, because I've just learned that if I follow what's exciting for me and I follow what people really are excited about that I can do for them in order to make the world a better place. And if I follow that, then I end up doing something absolutely unusual that I never could have imagined. And that's very exciting for me. I don't know what I'll be doing later this year or next year. Will I have a Christmas album? Will I will I own a restaurant? I don't know. Probably not, but who knows?
Yeah. No, I love that. Honestly, it's just one day at a time, really. Because I feel like if you look too far into the future, then you get too focused on the future and too wrapped up on like the logistics and just things that just haven't even happened yet, instead of like being present, working with what you have now, and just taking life one day at a time. Super
Absolutely.
important.
And I've noticed too, especially because I've always been self-employed, I've never had a job, which is
Mm-hmm.
terrifying and very scary. And it's absolutely, it's always scary, that feeling of not knowing where the work will come, like
Yeah.
if work will come, if I'm like, if the world has moved on without me, if nobody cares anymore, I'm irrelevant, all of that. It's always a concern. I think every self-employed person feels that way. Or if you're in a position where you're looking for a job, it always feels that way. And I've definitely learned to take the fear and try to prove myself wrong, try to prove the world wrong, and let the fear push me forward rather than holding me back from moving at all. And some days, some weeks, some months, last year, That feeling, like sometimes it does hold me back and I let it consume me a little bit more than I normally would like. And that's okay. But I think just continuing to allow that fear to push me forward is always what I'm trying to do.
Yeah, no, I love that so much. Everyone in chat is really vibing with what you're saying. I have Elizabeth Z in the chat saying, that's my big problem, looking too far ahead and trying to overplan too much. Danisha Gross saying 2020 definitely taught me to go with the flow and leave things up to chance. I am happier than trying to plan my future to a T. I love it. Oh my gosh. Okay. So now we are going to kind of shift the questioning a little bit and starting to talk about personal branding and tapping into your unique style. So I have a question from Discord. This person goes by LH. When you're trying to find your style as a creative, how do you know when you found it, or at least on the right path?
Yes. Okay. I'm so excited about this. I don't even know where to start. So in general, when we're talking about personal branding and finding your style, my assumption until just a couple years ago was always that personal branding in general was kind of gross because, and like curating a style for yourself felt selfish and a little just nasty because I thought that it meant being so curatorial that you're all of a sudden like just picking apart everything you're doing and being very intentional in a way that maybe you'll get tired of over time. And then what do you do? And for me, I always, I would kind of be on Pinterest all the time and get my inspiration from there. And I would find myself just all of a sudden designing really trendy looking things. And that combined with the advice that everyone constantly has always given me, even when I was in school, of study what successful people do and just emulate that because it's proven to work. So it's a great model that will work. So do that. And all of those things combined is what we're all taught. We're all taught to compare ourselves to other people. And for me and my personality, I spent all of my time comparing myself to other people, which would make me feel worse about myself because I would see somebody who was great at something that I was not very good at, like hand lettering, or like I'm awful at hand lettering, I'm awful at detailed illustration or like technical illustration, terrible. And so I would see somebody that was good at that because I was used to comparing myself to other people. And then I would internalize that on myself and say, why am I not very good at this? I'm awful. I'm a terrible designer. And trends would come and go that were not close to my interest or just skill set. But I would try to do them because that's what people wanted at the time. And so I spent a lot of years not liking myself because I was comparing myself to other people all the time. So when it comes to finding your personal style, personal branding of any kind, I've really learned that the greatest first step and the best thing you could possibly do is unlearn all of that. Because of course you're taught that, right? We're taught as soon as we are old enough, which is probably when we can understand our language, that we are not good enough, that we need to conform to what society says is normal for a person that looks like us. And so we are taught very quickly that if anything about ourselves breaks away from that, then that's unusual and we need to change it in order to conform. There's a lot of reasons why that happened. Most of it is just so that we'll buy more things in order to make ourselves conform and like pass as normal, right? We've all been there. No human is exempt from this. And so that is how we're conditioned at an early age. So of course, when it comes to determining a personal style, whether it's the way that you dress or the way that you decorate your space or the way that you are a creative person, like your design or illustration or fine art style, that's going to bleed into that a little bit too. We're going to compare ourselves to others, we're going to get swept up in trends. And what happens is we end up buying things and designing things according to trends. And then eventually we start to feel like less happy about that because trends have moved on and we constantly need to keep reinventing our work and ourselves and over and over and over again. And then we keep buying and buying more stuff over and over. So what I've realized is that the answer has always technically been inside of us this whole time, but we've just been hit and bonked over the head over and over and over again and told that whatever is in here and whatever this is not correct. We need to start changing this to become normal. But think about it from like, if we're talking about if anybody in the group is like a strategist or like really interested in marketing or brand strategy, if you have something that you can do that something about you that is different from a brand perspective, that's magical. That is something that you can leverage and market and position that gives you the opportunity to do something for the world that no one else can. And we technically, as humans, all have that. We all have a combination of personality traits that make us who we are, skills that we're just really naturally good at, or maybe that we've learned to get very good at over the time, and interests, those lifelong influences and points of inspiration. So whenever you combine all of those things about yourself, that makes you, and you have a combination of things that is truly no one else in the world has. We all have things in common, sure, but nobody has your combination of things. Nobody does. So if you can figure out how to take that combination of things and turn that into visuals, translate that into visuals, and this is why I love mood boarding for this, is because that really helps you to figure out how to translate those things into visuals. I'll talk more about this later for sure. You can't stop me. But if you can figure out how to translate what those things are about you that makes you unique and amazing and turn that into visuals, that's when you have the makings of a visual personal style that's unlike anybody else's. But also, technically, you have the ability to offer something to the world, to make something and give something to the world that no one else can. And that's all I want, is for everybody to figure out what this is for themselves, because I would love to live in a world where we're all celebrating ourselves for what makes us unique. And if we can all do that and we can be exposed to all these different things and like different visuals and different styles and different offerings that people have to give to the world to make the world a better place, that's just going to expand everyone's worldview and make the world a better place together. So I don't even remember what the question was, but it's something about.
No, you answered it beautifully. And I love how you mentioned mood boards, because I don't know if y'all are in the Discord server, but we launched a challenge for this event. And Meg, if you want to go ahead and kind of just recap the mood board assignment, we had some really awesome submissions come through in Discord the past couple of days. And yeah, just like brief everyone who's in the chat who probably didn't even hear about this assignment and are just wondering how they're getting involved, and just let the people know what's up. What did we do with the mood boards?
Okay, so I'm going to share my screen because we already alerted everyone in the Discord server of who the lucky recipients are of the special gift, which is a one-on-one consultation with me. We can hang out. We'll talk about my favorite forms of cheese. Anyway,
I like
Havarti. So those people have already been notified, but I want to use their mood boards as examples because the prompt was, and let me share my screen real quick. The prompt was to translate your personality into visuals in the form of a mood board using Spark. And that is a loaded question. So I'm just gonna hang out on Sasha's for really quickly. So translating your personality into a mood board is the world's hardest task. So I gave everyone no information whatsoever. I gave everyone no help. So it's not your fault if I say something or give advice that is different than what you would have assumed or what you've done. And I'm not showing mood boards to use an example out of anybody in a negative way. I'm going to celebrate what everyone's done here and talk about what I'm seeing. So whenever you're translating your personality into a visual mood board, what I like to do is go through and just start writing first. Don't go into visuals yet. Start writing and list out what makes your personality your personality. So if you don't know the answer to this question, that's no problem. I did not know the answer myself. Ask people that know you the most. And if you're trying to figure out who to ask, I would recommend asking the people that you feel safe enough to be your true self around, because we all have a hierarchy of who we feel comfortable being our weird self with. Even I don't feel comfortable being myself around everyone. That's okay. We're all like that. So ask those people what your key personality traits are, write those down, and then go one at a time and try to figure out how you can creatively search on the internet for finding images that match that personality trait. So for me, for example, I really like change. That is something about my personality that makes me who I am. So I would have to search very creatively in order to figure out how to find visuals for that. So figuring out, what does change mean to me? What do I love most about change? I really like changing seasons. So I would Google like changing seasons. And it does not matter if the image is beautiful. All it matters is that the image is creating or visually sort of representing that personality trait. So for these personality mood boards, Sasha's is beautiful. They do not need to look beautiful. They don't need to look cohesive. It does not matter. It could look like a bunch of random images. That's okay. I also, whenever I'm making these mood boards for finding my personal style, I like to never include images that are in my own medium of choice. So as a designer, I don't usually put design in my mood board for this exercise. And the reason for that is because I don't want to be influenced by other people's styles. So if I accidentally put a bunch of graphic design in my mood board, I'm going to end up doing what I've always accidentally done, which is getting inspired by other designers' design styles or accidentally coming too close to somebody else's style. And this exercise is about finding something that's different and refreshing. So what we're looking for here, and Sasha's is a great example, is whenever you put all these images that represent all of the vast fascinatingness of your personality, put them in a mood board together and just zoom out, look at them all together like we're doing right now, and ask yourself, what do I see and what do I feel? So color palette wise with Sasha's, we're getting a very specific color palette here, right? There's a lot of yellow, there's pink, there's blue, there's this like psychedelic groovy color palette going on. There's a lot of psychedelic groovy aspect to this, but it also feels really playful and weird at the same time. What I'm also noticing here is a lot of like vector, but occasionally there's this black and white texture that we're seeing here too. So writing down what you're noticing, what you're seeing in this mood board, whenever you're creating your personal style mood boards, is so helpful. What are the colors? What are the textures you're seeing? What are you feeling? Are you feeling energized? Are you feeling introspective? Are you feeling, just write down whatever you're feeling as you're looking at this mood board. And that will help you to pick up on some crucial information of how you can start translating who you are into visuals. So for me, whenever I made my mood board, I was seeing like a very specific color palette. But then I was seeing some tension. I was seeing a lot of expressive faces, but sometimes I was feeling a feeling of introspection and calmness. So those areas of tension, like in Sasha's mood board here, we're seeing a lot of vector combined with these textural elements, the black and white texture, that is tension. And that is really good because that's when you know that you have something that can combine together that people don't normally combine together. And the tension is the best possible thing because then all of a sudden with your personal style, you'll be putting two things together that the world doesn't normally put together. And if you have 2, 3, 4, 5 things that you're smushing together that nobody usually smushes together, that's even better because that means that is how you're going to create something that truly nobody has created before. So here's the next mood board that I wanted to go over because this is a great example of just showing photography. There is no design work here. I'm not sure if this is a photographer or not. Doesn't matter for this conversation. But when we're talking about photography here, yes, all of these images are really beautiful and they look pretty cohesive together because they're all a similar photographic style. But if we're talking about how to translate this into a personal style, whether it's the way that you dress, the way that you decorate your space, or your creative work itself, what I'm noticing here is a pretty strong, vibrant color palette, but there's this peachy purple gradient image that doesn't necessarily go from a design perspective with these other things. And that is really fascinating to me that we could pair gradients that are kind of calming and serene with these bright pops of color. I'm also thematically noticing that there are a lot of structured images like these lined up books here, or these like beautifully organized colored pencils, that kind of thing. A lot of structure and organization happening, but then there's also busy chaos happening with this sort of city photography here. So that's another area of tension, right? Where we're seeing structure and very organized imagery, but also there's a little bit of chaos and busy information happening at the same time. That's a great way to combine those things together into one style that's unlike anybody else's. So with this one, I thought this was really interesting because I'm not sure if this is a self-portrait or a photo of themselves. So I don't know if it is or not, but this is kind of something that I've experienced myself where most of the ways that I identified myself were extremely colorful and exciting and vibrant, which is what we're seeing with most of the imagery, a lot of Moroccan inspired imagery here, right? And so this is clearly really an important identifier of this person's persona, which is great. And there's a lot of color, there's a lot of interesting texture and visual busyness happening, right? And it's all very vibrant and energizing. But then we have this portrait here that is a completely different color that feels very contemplative, and I can feel the emotion and the empathy and the connection there. And that is really interesting because I don't feel that way with any of the other imagery. So again, that's an area of tension that I love. And people used to ask me all the time, my work and my inspiration was constantly really playful, but yet I wore mostly black and white all the time. They're like, that's really weird. It doesn't go together. And it took me to going through this exercise to figure out why I'm always wearing black and white and using black and white a lot when everything else about me is so colorful. And going through this exercise and realizing, oh, it's the mimes. It's the mimes. Really helped. So I encourage you to do the same. The last one I want to talk about is this one, because from a design perspective, it's not featuring too much design. These images are not visually like in the same color palette at all. And a lot of times when you're working on this exercise, it's not as beautiful and connected as it would be if you were on Pinterest, like trying to create this beautiful design mood board, right? But here, there's a bunch of things that are very important to Gareth. And we're seeing a lot of really great, exciting information here that I love to see, because it all feels very different. And the tension here is impeccable and very exciting for me, because we're seeing a lot of like subdued colors happening. And then there's bright pops of color, which I think is really interesting. There's like this feeling of technicality that's happening here. But then this paint, is it a painting? I think it's a painting. This beautiful peacock, I believe, is extremely gorgeous and intricate and detailed. And that blue is extremely calming. And then we see, who is this, Darth Maul, which feels very much opposite of that bird. And this is perfect. This is exactly what we want, because these areas of tension and figuring out how you can both represent both parts of you that are so different and smoosh them together in the way that you dress yourself and the way that you decorate your space, the way that you communicate visually is, it's such a beautiful challenge, because truly, who else is combining Darth Maul with peacocks? No one. There's no one else that could do that but Gareth, and we're going to find out how. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing my screen now. But I think you get it. Like, you get it. It's this like this exercise, and it's hard. It is hard a lot of the time to translate your personality traits into images. It's not as easy as it may look when I'm talking about it, but it's worth going through this exercise and trying your hardest to figure out how you can translate yourself to visuals, because it will help you to become so much more self-confident. I know this from my own personal experience, because you're finally addressing this part about you that maybe some of these parts you've been hiding and suppressing your whole life. And it's also really exciting to finally feel seen by someone. And when that someone that's seeing you is yourself, it's really powerful. And I think every human definitely deserves that.
Yes, I totally agree with you on that, Meg. These mood boards were awesome. Everyone is going crazy in chat. Like, everyone's saying, like, congrats to everyone, to all the winners with the one-on-one sessions. Everyone's like saying well done, and I just love it. There's so much love in the chat right now. So thank you all so much for participating in the mood board challenge, and congrats to all of the winners of the one-on-one sessions. Okay, so if you missed out on the giveaway, don't worry, there's a twist. We have a surprise for everybody at the end. So definitely stay tuned to the end of the stream for more details. But for now, we're going to continue on to the Q&A. But again, stay tuned to see how you can still participate in the giveaways after this session. Okay, so Meg, I have a question from Rosanna Rosman. So how do you navigate working in your own way in a space that can feel a bit unwelcoming? Like, sometimes it feels like the way I want to work won't be successful because no one understands it.
This is I am not being dramatic here. This may be the best question I've ever gotten because who doesn't relate to this? It's just, And it's so painful when we constantly feel unwelcome in spaces and we're doing this stuff to each other every day and we don't mean to. I truly don't think it's anyone's fault because it's just the way that the world raises all of us. What I have definitely learned is that there's an interesting thing, especially that happens in, I think using design as an example is a great example, because the design industry is extremely intimidating for a lot of people. When we're in school, we all of a sudden get opinions from our teachers about like like especially if you've been in design school at all or any school really, you learn that your instructors are like, that font's ugly, everyone hates that font, or like, don't use purple, purple's gross, or like something's outdated. And people have really strong opinions about design. And a lot of times these opinions become popular opinion. Like as designers, we've probably all heard like, don't use papyrus, don't use Comic Sans, whatever. And people really have such strong opinions. Designers and creative people in general, we have strong opinions because we're creative people and we're solving problems every day. So having an opinion is part of our job a lot of the time. And so what I've realized that has caused me a lot less pain is that everything that we do as creative people, especially in the design industry, it's all a construct. It's all stuff that we've just made up. Like, who gets to decide what good or bad design is? It's usually someone a long time ago or somebody that had the most power at the time or like the most money or something. And we've all just sort of like been following those beliefs because it's a survival mechanism, because we're afraid of getting banned as a bad designer, or like getting called out or not getting work because we're using the wrong fonts or colors or whatever, or we're outdated. And none of that technically matters, right? And so what I try to do is, because I'm stuck in this pattern myself, is I constantly have to ask myself, whenever I have a gut reaction or judgment about truly anything, but we'll still use design as an example, about design, if I think something's ugly, or if somebody uses one of those fonts we're not supposed to use, I immediately go, oh. And then I stop myself and say, why am I having this judgment? And do I agree with it? If I zoom out and think about it, do I actually agree with what I just was disgusted by? And usually the answer is no. I usually think, wait a minute, that doesn't actually matter. As long as that person's making work that they're fulfilled by, good for them. And of course, there's like unusable design or inaccessible design, and that's a completely different situation. But I'm talking about just popular opinion when it comes to design. And I think our strong opinions about what good or bad design is really is something that's so intimidating to people that it doesn't feel safe for them to work their way into the industry a lot of times. And I hear this over and over again, and I felt this way myself. But we're all doing that to each other in many different ways, whether it's what's popular opinion wise about work styles, or what you have, like what your work setup is, what kind of like computer you use or anything. And like the answer is the tools that you have are the best tools. Whatever you need to use to make the work that makes you communicate who you are is great. So it's really exciting to me to constantly question the judgments that I have about design, creativity, work, career, and life, work-life balance, and all of that, and start to question all of my thoughts and my inner monologue, because usually it's created by this system of judgment that's been created a long time ago by people that it doesn't even matter. It doesn't relate to me. So I think it's all about, what I'm excited about now is creating spaces where people feel safe enough to be themselves and explore that, even if it's not normal or not the same as everyone else. So that's definitely, we all deserve that. We all deserve to feel safe enough to be ourselves and to have environments where we can explore who that is. So definitely, if you're in a situation where you don't feel safe to explore that or to work the way you want to work, then just do whatever you need to do in order to find at least one person that allows you judgment-free to explore who you are. And then you can start building it out from there, larger and larger as you go.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, I love how you said that you just really need that one person to like really believe in your work and to really boost yourself up. And sometimes that one person can be you. And on that note, I have a question from Hamza, and he said, as a creative, you like that segue? He says, as a creative, I often struggle with imposter syndrome, and I'd love some tips because I love your confidence and energy.
Absolutely. It is really hard to get past that. I mean, I think we all constantly don't feel good enough and that we don't really belong because I think that's, like I've been saying, that it's that part of you that you know is different from everybody else, that self-otherizing, that creeps up on us constantly, and we've been conditioned to think that way for so long. So of course we don't feel like we belong because we have like a little bit of a different opinion about something than most people do, or like we have this part of ourselves that's different. And so for me, I constantly have to give myself a pep talk. I don't feel this, like I'm coming across as someone who's very confident, and I will say that I'm about 90% confident about myself. I'm not 100% there. I still have often days where I don't feel good enough, or like I don't belong, or like my perspective isn't valid. All of those things, I still have those thoughts, and I have to remind myself that I'm working towards something that's larger than myself to make the world a better place. And as long as I keep doing that, and as long as I try to work towards this greater purpose that's bigger than me, that really helps me to get that sort of motivation and call to action to work through it and push through it anyway. And I don't know if the imposter syndrome feeling ever goes away, because we're all so different. So of course we're never going to feel 100% like we belong, or that we are good enough to do the thing. And that's just because a lot of times on the internet and in our lives, we have this face of being perfect, of not feeling self-conscious about ourselves. And so you kind of think that everybody has it together, but no one has it together. I think people probably think that I have it together, and I definitely don't have it 100% together.
I love that answer. Yeah, I get that some of those comments too. Like, a lot of people's first impressions of me is just like, I feel that I have everything together. This show is 1,000% put together, but when really some part of me just doesn't have it all 100% figured out yet. So I definitely relate to that, Meg. So I have a question from Lauren Labadini. How did you get your foot in the door when you started freelancing?
That is a great question, because that is it's very hard. And because I've always been a freelancer, I had a huge sense of urgency. I went to school to learn how to be a freelancer, which is not something they taught me. So I ended up leaving early because I was like, oh, they're not going to teach me how to be a freelancer here. So I had to survive. I had to figure out how to live on my own and survive on my own, somehow as a freelancer when I had no connections. And so the best way that I've gotten work at the beginning of my career, and still very true to this day, is I made friends with as many other designers that were doing interesting things as possible. And now today, all of my best friends are designers. My community is really other fellow creatives. And if you're in the Discord server, you know this. People are very generous with their time and their help and their support. And if you can find the right creatives that are there to support you and to lift you up, and you can do the same for them. The way that I got started as a freelancer was getting work from other designers. So friending other designers that were like doing pretty well with getting work, and telling them what I was interested in doing, what kind of work I wanted to be working on. Sharing that information with them was key, because then I noticed that as I built a relationship with them and we became friends, this wasn't like me just asking people for things constantly. You gotta be a good person. You gotta show them a good time, have some fun. And so the more I did that, I found that these creative people were passing work my way. Maybe it was work that wasn't in their entire skill set, they couldn't do, or maybe it was work that was great, but they were full. They couldn't take it on, so they passed it my way. And that is still how I get a lot of my work today. And I give work to so many people that way too. So I definitely encourage always having those wonderful conversations with other people that do work that you would think is similar to yours, is telling them what your ideal projects are, what kind of work you're really excited about and really want to do, and have them share that information with you, because you might get approached by a toilet plunger company, And you're like, I'm not passionate about toilet plungers. But you remember Meg really wants to work on a toilet plunger project. So then maybe you forward it Meg's way. It's true, I do. Um, that's what has been really helpful for me. I think it's kind of the opposite of what people might think, is that your competition, stay away from them, they're doing what you do. But really, it's we all are interested and we all have different ideas of what's ideal for project wise for us and what kind of work we want to do and are passionate about. And we all have different ways that we want to change the world and make the world a better place. So communicating that with each other will really make you realize that it's not competition at all. It's just lifting up others and supporting others at the same time.
I love that. Thank you so much for that. What's it called? I lost my question. Here it is. Okay, so we have a little bit of time left, so we're going to take one last question from chat. Oh my gosh, that went by so fast. I can't believe we're at the end already. I'm so sad. Okay, so this question comes from Lauren O'Shea. What was the light bulb moment when you felt like your style just clicked?
I had one. So this is great. Throughout my whole life, I had this issue where I would see this. I'm going to talk about clothes, but it also applies to everything style wise, where we've all been here, where you see someone wearing something and you say, I like what you're wearing. Where did you get it? They answer you, you go get the thing and you put it on yourself and you're like, this is awful. This looks bad. I feel horrible. I feel worse about myself than before I had it on. And for me, that was a lot of like brown pants and like intricate floral patterns. Every time I'd be like, your style is really eclectic. I love it. Where'd you get it? I would get it. I'd put the brown pants on, put the flower shirt on. And then I would feel terrible about myself. And when I went through this exercise of finding out my personal style, of like putting mood boards together that were reflective of me, I came to the realization that nothing about my mood board said brown pants or intricate floral patterns. Nothing about that made sense. And so once I started dressing in the patterns and the colors that I was seeing in my mood board, that was really reflective of something that was really happening internal for me and translating in individuals. I felt so great and so confident. And now what happens is I've kept like this shirt I've had for, I think like 8 years now. And I feel so good when I wear it. I feel like people understand who I am. I understand who I am when I'm wearing it. And it really communicates who I am at my core and who I've always been. If little Meg saw adult Meg wearing this shirt, she would have been like, I love that shirt. That's great. And so that feeling is really great. And so now what this light bulb moment for me has been that there's a difference between what I like for other people and what I like for myself. And so now I still see people wearing things that I'm like, dang, that dress or that shirt or that jumpsuit is amazing. But I know if I put it on me, it means nothing to me. It's perfect for them because it helps them communicate who they are and they feel really confident in that, but it doesn't have anything to do with me. So if I put it on, I'm probably not going to feel great in it. And having that epiphany has been really eye-opening for me. And it really helps me to save money because I buy a lot less things now because there's a lot less of that buying according to trends and buying and then feeling dissatisfied eventually after you wear it one time. And then you're like, I feel horrible in this. I shouldn't have bought this. I don't have that anymore. I buy things and I know immediately what's going to work for me. And I keep it for a really long time until I wear it out. And it feels so great. It's such a relief to be here.
Wow, that is amazing. That is so cool that you found your style clicked through clothes. I would have never have guessed that. But I mean, with your amazing fashion sense, I mean, look at that shirt. I am not surprised that this is how you found your personal style. This is amazing. Okay, so before we end, I like to ask my guest this last question, and it's, what is one very last piece of advice that you would like to leave with everybody today? Like if everyone in chat were to take one thing away from this talk and forget about the rest, what would it be?
It would be, oh my gosh, I will definitely say it's to do whatever you can to fight for yourself because you deserve it. And the biggest way I think to fight for yourself is to create an environment within yourself where you can feel safe enough to at least explore who you are, even if that means you're very different from everyone around you. And keep that inside of yourself for as long as you need to, and until you can start visually and publicly sharing it. And you deserve at least that, to think, use your brain and use your internal monologue if you have one, to assess the decisions you're making about the way you dress, the judgments you have about things, why you like something, why you don't like something. Ask yourself what's happening, to start to form your own independent thoughts that are different from popular opinion or popular culture or trends. So that way you can start thinking independently, and that really will open up your world. And I'm sure everybody does this in some ways now, but it really opens up your world to start thinking for yourself and thinking independently. And it really helps to make the world a better place if we can all do that. And you definitely deserve it.
You hit me to my core, Meg. Oh my God. Can we get some of these emojis in chat, please? Some sparkles, some fire emojis. Give it up for Meg. Oh my goodness. That was amazing. Thank you so much, Meg, for dropping by and hanging out today. Yeah, thank you so much. It was really fun chatting with you. And also, if folks wanted to connect with you after the session, where can they find you?
Yes, on the internet, my website is meglewis.com. But if you want to find me on social media, I'm on all of them. My handle is @yourbuddy_Meg.
Your buddy Meg. So fun. I love it. Okay, so now that we have, we did Meg's socials, we did the outro. Okay. Now about that awesome surprise that we mentioned.
Yeah,
Sorry, I have to backtrack
I love
a
surprises.
little bit. Yeah, so about that awesome surprise we mentioned earlier, Meg, would you like to talk about it while I share my screen?
I sure would. Yeah, so we are doing, now that I've actually told you about the mood boards and translating your personality into a visual style, now if you work on a mood board, we want you to use Adobe Spark, get in there, it's easy, it's fast. So you got this. Translate your personality into a visual personal style in one mood board. And for everyone who does that, I believe we have a bunch of products from my online shop queued up. And I think it's the next 150 people that submit a mood board created an Adobe Spark are going to get a chance to choose between one of some amazing products from my shop. It's very exciting. And I think we have 3 products? Yes. Do you have images of them?
I do. I am sharing right now. I don't know if you can see it, but we have a fanny pack, a beanie, and I believe, what is this? A workbook? A self-discovery workbook? I love it. Oh my gosh, look at that cute little Meg cutout that says surprise. I love it.
I think we only have 50 of each of them.
Yes.
So yes, and they're first come, first serve. So make the mood boards and submit them ASAP. So that way you can grab the thing that you want. And I definitely recommend that fanny pack. Actually, the workbook is great. It's a self-discovery workbook. So if you're really interested in this process of figuring out who you are and what makes you unique and how to create a career that's a reflection of that, then that's what that workbook is great for.
Yes, I love it. I'm actually jealous that I am not eligible to enter. Man, gosh. So yeah, so like Meg said, the next 150 people that submit a mood board created in Adobe Spark will get a chance to choose one of these really fun gifts from Meg's merch line. And also, like she said, we have 50 of each of them, and it's first come, first serve. So here is how to enter for those who are hearing about this challenge for the first time. First things first, join the Adobe Creative Career Discord server. I have a mod dropping the link in chat. And using Adobe Spark, create a mood board that represents who you are and your unique style. And if you need help with getting started, there are templates that are posted in the Discord server that you can work right off of. And Adobe Spark is completely free to use. All you need to get started is an Adobe account, as well as a little creativity. So once you have Adobe Spark and you have the templates already like queued up and you're ready to go, post your graphic in the Adobe Discord server under the giveaway channel for this event. It is called Meg Challenge. Again, Meg Challenge in the Discord. And you'll find it on the left-hand side with all of the channels. And once you submit your mood board, that's pretty much it. You're done. And again, I'm going to say this. This is very important. The first 150 people to submit a mood board will be selected to receive a gift of their choice from Meg. And we only have 50 of them. So once we run out, it's done. So get your mood board in as soon as possible. And the deadline to submit is on Monday at 11:59 p.m. Pacific time. Let's see, what date is that? Monday the 28th. Monday, June 28th, 11:59 p.m. Pacific time is the deadline to submit. All right. Cool. So with that, that's pretty much all I have to say. Do you have any last thoughts for anyone, Meg?
I just want to say thank you to everybody. And the chat is great. You are all so supportive and so excited. And I'm just so glad this group is together. So thanks to everybody for being here.
Yes, and thank you all so much. Let's see, I have people in chat. Shout out to Kendra, Kendall, Celeste Torres, Veronica, Kim. Oh, some people said the Discord link doesn't work. If the link is not working, you can type in discord.gg/ACC, and it should take you to the Adobe Creative Career Discord server. Thank you all so much for being here. Thank you, Gareth. Thank you, Abigail, Sonia. I love you all. And Meg, thank you so much for coming.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. This was
a
blast.
I know, I had so much fun. Huge shout out to the Adobe team for putting this on, our awesome moderators in chat and in Discord, and most importantly, all of you in the chat, in the audience. I'll give you a big hug right now. Without you all, this event would not have happened without your support. And we appreciate you all for being here. So with that, I hope you all have a great rest of your day, and Meg and I will see you on Discord.
Yeah,
bye, everybody. Bye.